So, what you guys all are probably waiting for is how does this impact the laboratory? So, first and foremost, you really need to determine who is a senior executive. Um, you know, the commentary of the rule spent a lot of time talking about senior executives and what this means. They carved out the definition, as Les talked about, with a certain salary threshold, but also with policymaking authority. But what does policymaking authority mean? The commentary sheds some light on this. It is going to be, kind of case fact specific, but factors to consider, as noted in the commentary, is that senior executives are most likely to, quote, have a bespoke and negotiated agreement. The thought is that these senior executives are going to have the bargaining power to negotiate in a meaningfully way the non-compete, and are less likely to experience exploitation and coercion. The FTC spent a lot of time talking about the fact that there are high earning workers who may have titles and things of that nature who are not senior executives, and that they still face exploitation and coercion from the non-competes and don't generally bargain over them. And so they wanted to exclude those. That's why there's the threshold test of both the salary but also the policy making authority. And further thoughts on who has policy making authority. The commentary discusses that it's someone who has control over a significant aspect of the business entity without needing a higher level worker's approval. But they, made some examples. So, for example, if the head of a marketing division, they used a manufacturing firm, only makes policy decisions for that division, and those decisions do not control significant aspects of the business, that person is not a senior executive. They also the FTC made comments in the medical context more focused on physicians, because there was a lot of commentary about how physicians shouldn't have non-competes. But their example here was that the head of a hospital surgery practice or a physician who runs an internal medical practice that is part of a hospital system would not be senior executives, assuming they are only decision makers for their particular division and not for the business as a whole. So there is, some ambiguity about who is a senior executive, and it's really going to depend on the structure of your lab and the authority making decision. So with that, capturing that and the kind of the commentary, it's possible that the non-compete ban is going to apply to your sales and marketing team. There may be exceptions for, VP of sales and marketing and things in roles similar to that, if in the event that they have, decision-making authority that controls, the overall business. But again, that's going to be an analysis you're going to have to undertake. And it likely applies to scientists and other highly trained individuals in the lab, which is also important. There was commentary, again, about in the scientific field about, they used a specific example about a geneticist at a university founding a biotech startup to develop cancer immunotherapies. And they showed that this was illustrative that this person should not have, a non-compete because it artificially creates scarcity in a market for top scientific talent, and that's what the FTC is trying to prevent. They want healthy competition between industry and new entrants. And so you have to think about that when you read all the comments, as to who they're really trying to apply it to. So, at the end of the day, it's, the FTC is really trying to limit this to C-suite people who have that policy-making authority, viewing that even well-paid people might not have sufficient bargaining power to avoid exploitation and coercion. And there's a numerous set of examples there about people arguing for and against non-competes in the comments.
Yeah, so before you leave that, Danielle, I think just kind of following up that thought, assuming just for a moment that the rule survives and it survives in its current form, there's no moratorium, which, it's maybe not going to be the outcome here. That's essentially where the action is going to be, is determining the facts and circumstances of people who may be marginally senior executives, and that's really where the disputes are gonna lie, and it's going to be determined on the applicable facts and circumstances. Although the commentary was 570 odd pages, the actual rule was only 8, which is highly unusual for government rulemaking period. So it's a pretty straightforward rule with very, very broad definitions, and that's why you end up with an 8-page rule and 570 pages of commentary trying to explain what those 8 pages mean and giving a plethora of examples about how it may or may not apply. So I think the answer is, continue to stay tuned on that.